I cannot tell you how great of a feeling it is that we do not have to put the Steelers in a power rankings anymore. Welcome back to the James and Dame Show. I'm Josiah,
And I'm Will.
and today we're going over the wild card power rankings. Um, yeah, that was a very fun week up until Sunday night and Monday night. Unless you were fans of the teams that won, that's a little different. But for the rest of us, it was abysmal, very much so.
Yeah, it
Thank
was a
goodness. Yeah.
little rough.
Thank goodness it's over. Yes, it was very rough. So, I guess now we only have what 8 teams to actually worry about now,
Yep.
which is kind of crazy to think about it. So, but obviously the division round will be a little bit more competitive at the very least. See, with only 8 teams, it's kind of hard, really, sometimes to kind of pinpoint who you think is the worst because they're all pretty good teams. But at the moment, my number 8 is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. Um, yeah. So, sure, they're a decent team, especially with, Brock Purdy and CMC back there. However, George Kittle is now out of the equation, especially going into the divisional round, which is not a good thing. You are down one of your top players, and you're going on the road, I believe, to Seattle. Yeah, so you're going to Seattle without your star tight end. This San Francisco 49ers team is literally Brock Purdy, CMC, and the occasional breakout of a player or two. It's not going to be pretty. The fact that they were only able to beat the Eagles by, what was it, 4 points? I think it
4 points.
was
Yeah.
4 points. That does not inspire much confidence from my end. I know you were on the road. I get that. You were playing the Eagles defense. I also understand that. But Seattle is a whole lot better. They have an offense, an actual offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck. So, and that's literally the only reason why they're at the bottom right now is because they're George Kittle-less and they're so injured that I just don't know how far they're going to go. So,
Yeah. I mean, they dealt a tough hand to start off these playoffs. At number 8, I also actually have the San Francisco 49ers. They're just, I mean, it wasn't super pretty. Their defense had a few lapses. Their offense wasn't super inspiring, but admittedly against a really good Eagles defense. Brock Purdy, he played pretty all right. CMC's kind of been the guy, but he wasn't. He had to get more involved in the passing game than anything. Uh, Got a lot of help from that Jawan Jennings passing touchdown. That really helped them a lot get ahead. But a really tight game against a team that's had a lot of struggles in the Eagles. 49ers, I mean, I could see them being a little bit higher. I think even with George Kittle, they might still be down at 8 off of the play they had. But losing George Kittle, this team is kind of. This feels like the last piece to kind of put the nail in the coffin as far as injuries go for a team that's had just like a surprisingly good year with the injuries they've had, but I don't know how they can go another week with it. So I like what they've done to this point, and it's been a phenomenal year for what they've had to deal with. But I have the 49ers down in 8th.
Moving on to number 7. I figured most people will place them around here too. Um, this is where I have the Chicago Bears.
Mm.
Um, I know a lot of people are a little high on them, especially after beating the Packers again. They are the comeback kids this year. I want to see more of that, but I also want to see consistency. I know it's hard for Chicago this year, especially the first half. Um, I know they can do it. They have a lot of talent. They can make a lot of noise. But because no one really expected them to be good this year, they have that huge underdog mentality. So I think it's a win-win for both me and the Bears. Like I actually know the Bear organization or whatever. Um, but it's a win for me because I can put them lower because I'm not expecting them to do much this year. But at the same time, if they do well, then it makes I don't know, makes more sense. I don't know, brings them more um, things to play for, I guess. So I like Chicago, but out of the 8 teams, they're kind of at the bottom. Talent wise, they have it, just not as much as the other teams, unfortunately.
At number 7, I actually have the Houston Texans. Their defense
Ooh.
was phenomenal in a blowout, a fourth quarter blowout of the Steelers. But my caveat there is going to be those a lot basically in that sentence, defense and Steelers, is their defense pretty much carried them that whole game. That game was 10-6 going into the or 7-6 going into the fourth quarter. The offense was not moving the ball much at all. They had 2 defensive touchdowns, and this is against a Steelers team whose offense has been pretty much dead in the water all year. They've not been a flashy offense. They've had a few like decent weeks, but that's about it. It's it's a Steelers team that's kind of hit the end of their like window, if you really want to call it a window. Um, but yeah, it's a blowout win, but against one of the weaker teams and one of the teams that showed the weakest performance in in the first round of the playoffs. I mean, the Panthers put up a much better fight than the Steelers did, and so
Mm-hmm.
even though I think the Panthers were a weaker opponent for the Rams, I think the Texans had the easiest game. And again,
Oh, easily.
I'll give credit to the defense because they had a really good game, and that's what they're gonna be. That's what they're gonna have to do to keep going. But you also have the fact that they need to also get something going on offense because their defense can't do everything, as we saw with with the Eagles, um, and just a lot of teams. Like it has to be more than just the defense, and so as impressive as a win as it was, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of the Texans. Uh, I'm not jumping on the bandwagon of the Texans just because you blew out the Steelers, because that's what was expected, I feel like. So I'll have them down at
Fair.
7, and I need another week of impressive play against a better opponent before I'm comfortable moving them any higher.
So for number 6, um, I'm kind of in the same idea as you, especially with the Texans. This is where I have the Texans. Um, Probably same or most similar reasons for them being down here. Um, that Texans offense was awful to watch. I don't. That is a terrible, terrible showing from their end. I know, I get it. That offense has not been clicking all season. The defense is literally the only reason why they're here in the playoffs. But at the same time, at some point during the season, you have to click on offense somehow. Like this offense has to do something. Like this, it's just frustrating. It really is. But yeah, was it 4 or 5 total turnovers from the Texans offense? 2 lost fumbles, and I think an interception. Like, come on. Like, CJ Stroud a few years ago was hyped up to be a new generation of quarterbacks coming into the league, and now he's average. He has that flash again here and there, but other than that, it has been really disappointing. I still think he can have a rebound if he, works at it and actually has some help learning. But overall, this Texans team lives and dies by that defense. And so far, it's been living well. So, yeah, Texans, really good team. However, I don't know how far that team is going to get them to the playoffs or through the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised about certain situations later down the road. But I digress.
At number 6, I actually have the Bears here. I kind of agree there was some concerns with the Bears, obviously with things like, falling behind by 18 at half and needing to even make the comeback in the first place. There's a lot of concern there. I'm happy to see what I saw out of the Bears in the resilience, though. And do I think that this is going to be their year? No. But I like what I see out of them, and I think that they prove to be a scary team for the next at least couple of years, as they got a lot of promise. But yeah, I liked the resilience. I liked how they were able to fight through what was a really sloppy first half and crawl all the way back and close out a game against a very hostile opponent and pull out just a good win at home for the first time in 6 years that they've even been to the playoffs. And so it's just props to them. And I really like what they've been doing. Their defense isn't the best, but it does show it's been able to force turnovers and it's been able to force errors, and that's something that I will at least give them credit for there, as well as their offense and Ben Johnson. Just what they've done has been more intimidating to me than what I've seen out of the prior teams, at least in the playoffs.
All right, so for number 5, this is where I have the Los Angeles Rams. I know some people are not super high on them, especially after this week playing Carolina. Yeah, that was a close game. However, they showed resilience and somehow were able to win that game. Carolina had plenty of chances to win that game, but they just threw it away. The Rams have to, make some huge adjustments, especially this next week. You're going to Chicago, and the expected wind chill, I think, is like 0 or something like that. Yeah, good luck. You want an LA team to performing well in Chicago, you're asking for a lot. But they can do it. They're still a pretty good team. Stafford's always going to be on fire. You still have Nakua. You still have all that talent on defense. Yeah. So, Rams are still good. They'll still make some noise. I don't know how far they'll go, especially if they're playing Chicago this next week. But yeah, I'm still hopeful that they can rebound, especially the last few weeks of their schedule. But yeah, they're number 5 for me.
At number 5, I also actually have the Rams. There was, I'll say, Stafford. He started the game hot and he ended the game hot. He had the middle 2 quarters that were real rough. He went a long time with only like 2 completions between the second and third quarter, I think it was, and it was sloppy for a while. They let the Panthers crawl all the way back and put up a really good fight, but Rams, I don't think they're going to go down easy, and I still like them as a team that can persevere and push to the end. But they got to get some stuff figured out, and Stafford, he's got to play clean. Some dropped balls and some struggle connecting with receivers that can't persist in weeks going forward. But again, it's the Rams. We've seen where they've been in other points of this year. We'll see what they can do coming in again, and like you mentioned, on the road playing against Chicago. But I think the perseverance and the veteran experience of the Rams is going to put them as one of the best as the at least second best team in the NFC.
Now we're getting to the top four. My number four, very controversial to a lot of people apparently. This is where I have the Patriots. Congratulations, you beat up on a terrible Chargers unit without a good O line. They've not had a good O line. Patriots, they still haven't played a good team. Chargers were probably like a mediocre team. I think the final score was like what, 16-3
Yeah.
or something like that. That's not like it's just as bad as the Steelers and Texans game, except the Texans did a whole lot more on defense. Patriots just sat there and watched the Chargers just shoot themselves in the foot, and Justin Herbert got killed every play. Like that's all that happened that entire 4 quarters. And yeah, I kind of feel bad for Justin Herbert, but when you don't have a lot of talent around you and you're just not performing as well as you should in the playoffs, it's not going to result in a win. Patriots are still skidding by on a really easy matchups right now. Obviously, next week against the Texans defense, they're going to have to do a lot to try and, pull off a victory against them because Texans are they're not easy. They have a good defense. Their offense is terrible, but Chargers didn't really have anything. At least the Texans have one side of the ball. Overall, the Patriots are still good. Drake May is going to take them as far as he can. However, he can't do it all. There's still a lot of things kind of up in the air with, can they actually perform well against good teams because they haven't played any good teams. This is their true test. In my opinion, this is the true test.
At number 4, I also have the Patriots, which I didn't think was that controversial.
To a lot of people, it is.
I'll add, compared to the Texans win, if you take away the 2 defensive touchdowns for the Texans, it's not that much different. It's 16-6 versus 16-3. Both like honestly, these two actually do kind of feel really similar now that I look at it. But I have a lot more faith in the Patriots' offense. I think the Patriots went up against a much stronger unit in the Chargers. I think the Chargers were a better opponent. Yes, their O-line is hot garbage, and the Patriots' defense completely dismantled them. But other than that, like the Patriots' offense caused some concern. Like the Texans' offense, just like a bunch of mishaps, fumbles, turnovers, and just like a lot of close calls. Chargers defense, they put up a fight with the Patriots. It was just like the Steelers with the Texans. It was just the defense eventually couldn't do everything for the Chargers, and the Patriots were able to make a little headway, while the Chargers offense just couldn't get anything going on against that defense. And so Patriots, again, they benefit from a team that just is not, they made it all the way to the playoffs, but were just not healthy enough to do anything in the playoffs with that O-line. And it really comes down to the O-line. They were Justin Herbert didn't have a great game. The receivers weren't perfect either, but it's an offense that struggled a lot, and that shows because they got rid of Greg Roman. But the Patriots, I think it's just benefiting from a weak a opponent that just isn't quite up to par. I think it's better than the Steelers, but
Oh, definitely.
yeah, it was a defensive showing, and that's really what showed it. And I could have put them higher as the only team is what the one of two teams I think it was to win a multi possession game because the
Yep.
rest came down to one score. I could give them a lot more credit there, but just the way like the offense caused a lot of concern, and you're going up again. You're going up against the Texans, so it's going to be interesting watching two offenses that had mishaps go up against two defenses that dismantled their opponent last week. So it'll be fun. I'll say that. I'm excited for that.
For my number three, uh, I have the Buffalo Bills here. Um, I know we talked about this for a while. Um, you know, Bills are chaotic. We don't know what kind of team we're expecting every single week. I think you and I discussed this either on this podcast or outside of this, that the Bills are either one and done or they're going to the Super Bowl. Um,
Well, it's not
they're
one
not
and
one and
done.
done.
So
They're not one and done. So that's the thing. It's just that they're such an unpredictable team that it's hard to rank them. They're definitely better than the bottom uh, of this power ranking, but like from like 5 to 1, I don't know where to place them like confidently. But they are definitely middle of the pack of these top five teams because they can play to an elite level. When James Cook, Josh Allen, and all those guys are on fire, they're an elite unit. Then there's some weeks during the regular season where they were just flatlined. There was no spark, no motivation whatsoever. Um, I think they're motivated now. Uh, so I'm expecting Josh Allen to perform really well. Um, supposedly, they are going up against the Broncos, who also has a really good defense. So just kind of depends on who wants it more, really. So we shall see. But yeah, that will be my number three.
for my number three, I also have the Bills. Um, Again, this is like I was incredibly impressed. I think they played one of the best opponents, and they came out on top. I had said that I thought it was going to be one of the best games, and there were a lot of actually really good games from this wild card weekend. But I this one was a lot of fun to watch. You can't really complain. I like it. It just feels like two really good teams going head to head, and one of them has to come out on top, and that's what we got. But yeah, I mean, there's some inconsistencies, some miscues for the Bills, and they can't have those miscues going up against a team like the Broncos, assuming the Broncos come in prepared. But I do like the Bills. I like their if they can play clean football, and they've shown they can. It's just if they can continue doing that and stay hot. I mean, again, you just came off against a win against the Jaguars, who were one of the scariest teams. A lot of teams thought they could make it to the Super Bowl with how they had put together this season, and so Bills, I think, Bills are another team that I think are very capable of making it to the Super Bowl. They're just an impressive team. Defense has started cleaning up, and the offense, again, get rid of the mishaps, and that is one of the scarier offenses in the league. They are a little thin at receiver with injuries to Gabe Davis, and Josh Palmer was out. But, I mean, they can get that roster, if they can flesh out that receiver room and, maybe make some acquisitions, buff them up. I think the Bills are in a really good spot if they can get past those injuries and miscues.
Now we get to number two. This is where I have the Broncos. Yeah, the Broncos are still really good on defense. Um, their offense is the only thing I have a major concern with, specifically Bo Nix and consistency. Um, they can do it. They can go to the Super Bowl easily. However, I have a hard time trusting Bo Nix right now. Um, the game against Jacksonville earlier this season, in like the last 4 games of the season, um, kind of showed on kind of put on a clinic of how to beat the Broncos at Mile High. So if the Bills are going to beat the Broncos, they're going to have to take a page out of Jacksonville's book because that's how you beat them. Um, yeah, this this unit, however, is still really good. Definitely top 3 team in the NFL. Um, yeah, I don't know what you're gonna do against them. That defense is pretty good. Uh, so, I mean, it's kind of hard to expand upon this really because they've been top 3 for like the last 8 weeks or so at the very least because they've been consistent all season. Sure, it's been against easy opponents like the Patriots, but yeah, can't refute their strength on defense. So
At number 2, I also have the Broncos. They were on a bye, and a lot of things you said, like it's nothing has really changed. Like nothing's going to change. They were on a bye. Still one of the best teams in the league, but yeah, there's the concern of not playing full 4 quarters. Offense shows the flashes. Defense is really good. It's just not playing the full 4 quarters. That's kind of why I have a little bit of hesitation putting them up at 1. But being that I had them up at 2 last week and they were on a bye, they're not gonna move. And team number 1 also didn't play; they had a bye, so they didn't move. So there's just no reason for me to move any of these guys around. But yeah, Broncos really really good team, earned the 1 spot for a reason, and yeah, I like them. I like them at 2.
it's pretty easy to figure out who's number 1. Seattle. Um, they're the team that beat this year. Um, JSN, Sam Darnold. That defense is pretty good too, like top 3. Um, yeah, they're an absolute unit. They're pretty balanced on both sides of the ball. Um, Overall, I would not be surprised if we saw the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Like they're that good. So
Yep.
that's why I have them at 1.
And like you mentioned, my number 1 is also going to be the Seahawks. Again, they were my number 1 last week. They were on a bye. No reason to really move them. They've been spectacular this year. I do still have like a slight concern to see if Sam Darnold can do it on the big stage, but going against the 49ers, I'm not going to doubt them too much. I did say there's a really good chance we get to see that, we see 1, if not 2, NFC West teams in the NFC Championship, and that we see an NFC West team in the Super Bowl. And now we've got 3 and 4 chance that that's the case. So Cardinals fans probably
Yep.
rooting for the Bears right now, real hard. But yeah,
Oh, easily.
the Seahawks have been great. Kubiak has done a great job there. JSN's been really good. Shaheed's been a great acquisition. Donald's had a good year. The defense is just terrifying. McDonald's done just a great job with that team as a whole. And so congrats to the Seahawks for having such a good year and getting where you're at. You had your week of rest, and it's just going to come down to, can you finish off the battered 49ers?
Well, I think that's just about wraps up everything we have for the power rankings. Um, yeah. Thank you all for joining us on this little mini power rankings tier list. Obviously, only having 8 teams left in the playoffs, you can't really rank them that crazily. Like, it's not super outlandish anymore. But yeah, thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you guys still supporting us, even though we took a couple weeks off to kind of recuperate and find a new setup and new equipment and everything. Because Will and I have both got new equipment. This is exciting because this is a step in the direction of what we want to do in the future. But yeah, thank you all for joining us, and we shall see you in the next video.
Bye.